Oh, okay, here we go again. It's raining, so it's wonderful time to actually plant, and I'm celebrating my continued successes on the farm with my building projects, with the getting through the very difficult summer that we've had here. What I'm going to do today is a lovely planting in honour of my right-mindedness and right action. This year I've travelled much during the early part, and I was in West Africa teaching permaculture, and after that I took a holiday in Nepal, up near the Himalayas, and did some wonderful climbing up there. And the reason why I mention that is because the plant that you can see right in front of you now it's a citrus plant. It's the Buddha's hand. It's Citrus medica. It's got a wonderful name, Sarcodactylis, and it's found in northeastern regions of India. I assume up there near Bengal. And when I was actually trying to cross the border this year, they wouldn't let me through, unfortunately, but I was on my way up to Darjeeling, where they grow tea. So it's one of those plants that can adapt to Mediterranean climates. With that in mind, before I go on about the benefits of the fruit, let's just check what soil conditions I have here. And this is how I do my permaculture planting. Now, this is rabbit manure. It's not particularly a great type of manure, but it's been composted for so many years that it's formed a very nice friable soil that would bond with the new roots on the citrus hand of Buddha plant. And here, and I make copious amounts of this is charcoal, crushed charcoal. So great for trapping nutrients. So I'm just doing equal parts of well composted rabbit manure with charcoal, crushed charcoal, which is going to form the basis of the health of this plant. Now, as a Mediterranean plant, it doesn't really want to go below 8 degrees. Ideally, it wants to be around 10 to 15 degrees centigrade most of the year round. So it's got to be protected. This plant would grow up to about 8 foot, 10 foot high, and will complement the lemon tree, which I have over there, which is doing exceedingly well. Now, if you look, there's a type of ridge here. This is how they do olive maintenance in the old days. They used to ridge up all the stones and soil from around the tree to flatten the area, and they create what you would imagine a well-drained soil. Here you can probably just about see it, but they do it everywhere you go. They ridge up between the olive trees. So I'm planting along this ridge, creating very good drainage conditions, and that's really important for this plant because it doesn't want to be flooded at any time in the year. Give it a good head start. So the first thing I'm going to do is dig the hole out a bit from the previous planting and take out all these stones which were used as a mulch, and then just widen the hole a bit and see what it looks like down there and add some extra material, as you would grow oranges, lemons or grapefruits here. The all important thing though is to ensure that it never dries out. So it's a good time to plant now. We're coming towards the end of the year here at Al Karabi, and it's my last tree planting of the year before I return back to the UK. And I will nurture this plant, and with eager expectation come back to see whether it's succeeded in its new environment. So that pot's been there for probably about 2 or 3 days, just getting used to the different light conditions. Okay, so just before I start the digging process again, bearing in mind that there's going to be some good stuff under there from the previous planting that died, I just want to talk about the plant a bit more. It's called the hand of Buddha for a particular reason. It's got a fantastic aroma to it, mind you. So do most citrus flowers. But the fruit can be candied. It's a very delicious fruit. citrus fruit is a wonderful thing to be able to pick all year round. So this fruit, which can be candied but also has a delicious flavour, is hopefully in a few years' time going to provide for this aging body a bit more of stimulation to continue my good work on the farm. The fruit looks like, if I can show you the label, it looks like a fingered hand. So and there we have it, supposedly like the hand of Buddha. Now what a spectacle that's going to make, hopefully in a few years' time, once it's established. So on that note, I want to talk about the health properties of the hand of Buddha. And one of them is respiratory soothing, also menstrual soothing. It's good for boosting the immune system, which is something I need, for relieving general pains in the body, gastrointestinal problems, and inflammation. And the whole thing about citrus fruit, it's a very good alkaline food that you can add to your daily diet, just to neutralize any acidic buildup in your stomach. Now, why did I pick this particular whole? Well, I've tried avocado in here, and it succeeded for almost a year, but then we had a horrendous drought in summer where it was so hot, and it just died out really. But I know that hole under there has been excavated with an electric jackhammer. It's been excavated to quite a depth, so I know that's going to provide a very good stable environment for a moderately difficult plant. Remember, these citrus plants are not native to Mediterranean climates, but they are well adapted. They can be well adapted if protected. I hope you can hear me. The phone's sitting in a bucket at the moment to keeping it dry. But look at this. This is an old olive mat, which I'm using as a mulch mat. They throw these away after 1 or 2 years because they get damaged. And unfortunately, the new types are made of plastics. But as an upcycle, it's absolutely ideal for planting new trees. It's about 70 centimeters in diameter, and I've had great success with these already. It's putting microplastics into the soil, but you have to get rid of the mat before it gets to that stage where it's rotting so much. So that's going to go back there. And these stones, which act as a condensation mulch, also will go back onto the mat afterwards to prevent to actually slow down the decomposition caused by exposure to the sun. So let's just have a look. We're on a ridge, and look at the way they sell this pot. Yeah, the drainage, very important. That's why it's got a special pot with a mesh at the bottom to allow extensive drainage when they store these, so that it doesn't flood in the garden nursery where you're going to find it. And if I just take a look at it, look at the root system, that came out quite nice, so it's not root bound, and it's very dry, so I'm going to give this a load of water in a minute. And very friable. There's hardly any soil in there, so I'm going to have to make sure I get my mix right and all of those roots are kept in contact with the soil. So let's get this in water before it suffers from any wind damage to the fibrous root systems. I think I'm better suited to one of these. People wear gloves, and when it's this wet, it's not really worth it. So this is my sort of rabbit spade, and this is where I can get great depths in the hole. Remember what I said? Learn to do it both hands. That way you create less stress on your body. And considering I woke up with a huge muscle spasm in my backside a couple of days ago, I'm actually a bit conscious of my personal health at the moment.
And how we do it is two sides of the story. Twice with his right side, for once with his left side. And now with one hit, he's one side of the story. Then turns it on his head to hear it from the other side. To conquer over matter is a matter of the mind. To follow your own thinking is a desire of freedom. To know when she came is your ultimate destiny. To believe in oneself is the secret of greatness.
It's important to know the difference between a spade, a shovel, and this is one of the best tools ever invented. This is a mattock, and this really does loosen up the soil.
And how we know is really a fish who chose to swim instead and found himself a whole ocean. Oh, and it really didn't have to win to conquer over matter is a matter of the mind. To follow your own thinking is a desire of freedom. To know when she came is your ultimate destiny. To believe in oneself is the secret of greatness. To conquer over matter is a matter of the mind. To follow your own thinking is a desire of freedom. To know when she came is your ultimate destiny. To believe in oneself is the secret of greatness.
So this is the soil from the previous planting, which is a mixture of charcoal and well decomposed rabbit manure. Such a deep hole is this, and I smashed through the bedrock on this one, which means that it warrants a particular tree, something that isn't naturally adapted, well, something that is can naturally adapt to Mediterranean climates, but can just go with a bit more TLC. And all important is the soil structure, to maintaining the defences of the plant so it doesn't stress out, overstress out, and provoke a load of diseases to occur. So I'm very confident that this tree is going to do well here. I've gone down almost 2 feet. I'm not going to go down any further because I've come across the previous soil structure. I'm going to add some more. Half and half, crushed charcoal and more decomposed rabbit manure. And it doesn't matter with these stones because that's all going to add to the important drainage that the hand of Buddha needs. So we just throw that in there, but the thing to remember is never to plant too deep. Just allow enough depth for plants to get a hold and to be able to penetrate the soil beneath it as far as it can, looking for water. I've been making charcoal for a few years now, and I'm very good at it. And they've actually just changed the law to stop people from burning from the beginning of October. So now you have to wait until January, and there's only like 2 months in a year now that you can burn. It's been contested in court, but the fact is that people just burn here and create ash. So, I mean, that's one form of potassium, but it's a real shame really, because it takes people like me to come up with the innovation and the ideas. All I need is the support to actually create more charcoal for sale. In Europe, where you get a lot more water runoff and nutrient leaching, they use charcoal, crushed charcoal, in swales so that nutrients are trapped in the soil. Here we do get a lot of flash flooding, but the all important thing is that as water permeates down, nutrients are pulled down under and trapped in the base of the roots. So I'm not going to disturb the root ball anymore as I would normally do with some other plants, because it's so friable, and they're using almost like a, it's not peat based, but it's almost like a wood chip based composting material, which will give you an idea of something of its natural habitat. And this little collar here, I would assume, now I'm not going to move it, but I would assume either has a graft, and actually, or it's just protection. It's just protection. And in the packaging that it came with. So it's going to sit lovely in there. Now you can see that there is a join, there's a branch off here, which means that it creates a weak point. Now if I know that the wind's coming from a sort of northwesterly direction, the cold winds of winter, the strong winds, then basically I want to protect this join so it doesn't snap. And the way you do that is just turn it round. Yeah? But actually,
Do I have your blessing, keepers of the wilderness? Allow me passage and show me the unknown.
I have to meditate for a moment. Right, you just turn it round so as to create less wind resistance to the plant. So the plant is leaning in this direction, so that's the direction we're going to plant the root ball in. Let's just grab a handful of this. This is the I'm getting lovely and wet. So, just before I compact the soil around here, and it's had a lovely mix of everything. There's a bit of rabbit manure, quite a lot of topsoil from the original location, and crushed charcoal, and loads of stones creating my drainage. So, the plant's going to blow in this direction towards me. So really what I want to do is ensure, and I can do that quite well here if I'm missing the root ball, is just to bang that in and then put a nice tie to that to just give it a bit more strength, because we do get over 100 kilometre gusts here which can easily snap a young tree. But we don't want to go too high with the stake, because we do want some flex in the plant. A flex in the plant strengthens the plant in general. It creates what you call secondary thickening. So it actually expands outwards rather than upwards. When it rains, you don't care if you get wet in this country. So look at that. So I'm planting to the pot line, so that's probably about the level that it was protruding out the top of the soil in the pot. Now obviously can't put this over the plant, so I'm going to have to cut this and just slide it around it. But first, the all important thing is that before you lay any mulch, whether stones, wood chips, straw, anything like that, you need to water the soil, because the mulch protects from evaporation but also prevents from permeation. So I'm creating a natural sort of dell around the base of the plant here, and that's to allow water to sit there for a little while and permeate when I come to water it during the summer. I won't need to water that again now for the winter, not with 3 days of rain. These olive mats cost €30 each. So it's quite an investment at the end of the year for the mill to buy them new again. And I've seen the prices have probably gone up, like everything else. And I've got about 30 of them. Which to buy new will cost about £1,000. We would assume that an olive mill would probably have to invest in about 100 of them. It gives you some idea of the money they need to make. I'm using them as just general non-slip mats on some of the stone paving here. The dogs also love to sit on them. So what did the Buddha teach us? That if you have a problem, sit and meditate upon it. Don't rush around. I could have easily done this before it started to rain, but I'm really enjoying the rain. Focusing on the job in hand. far. There's one last thing to do, and don't be afraid to get an exotic plant like this and take some cuttings as soon as you plant it, because one of the shocks, the shocking effects that a plant can experience is dieback, and that's because it's not adapting quick enough to the soil, the new soil around it. So I'm going to take some cuttings and I'm going to put some rooting hormone on the both of them, just plant them up and see if I get any success, and then I've got some gifts to give away. Other than that, it's waiting quite a few years for it to establish before you're going to do that. So knowing that we're probably going to get some sort of dieback, let's see if I can get some semi-hardwood cuttings for the winter and just plant them in the food tunnel in a shady spot. Yeah. So I've cut to above a node on the plant, so I need to cut to below a node on the plant, on the cutting itself. And there's a node right there, so you can see it. So I can give it a good angle. I'm going to cut 90 degrees just below there, because that's where the plant is most likely to produce roots. And the next node up is there, so I'm just going to cut 90 degrees and I'm going to bury that. You have to keep a few leaves on it. On semi-hardwood cuttings, on cold cuttings you can do it on bare wood, hardwood cuttings. So it's just, I'm getting absolutely soaked. And I'm going to do just the two, and then go away for a holiday and sort of forget about them a bit. Like that, you see? 1, 2. So I'm going to go away and bury these, but I wish you all good new year, happy festive season, and let's hope we'll see you sometime next year.